I love this man's work. He is all over it, and it being the NBA and anybody associated with the association, and his reporting on what happened over the weekend caused me to lift the phone and say, hey, tell me what's what. Tell me what happened. And that is Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports. How are you, Chris? Are you there, Chris Haynes?
I'm here now. Sorry, Rich.
All good. And how are you, sir? You well? Everybody in your family good?
Yeah, we're good considering. I think we've been in the house for about 3 months, and I'm getting used to my family again. There's some good times, there's some bad times, but I think if I am going to Orlando to cover that restart,
yes,
I think a large portion of my family in the house would be happy to see me go.
Okay. Well, and again, that's an interesting part about all this. We even just had Jay Billis on last hour talking about, hey, if you go cover go cover the NBA and you've got to leave for 3-4 months, you got to make a decision yourself. And, and that also puts into perspective that the athletes involved in all of these sports and the conversations that are being had, they are human beings. They're human beings first. And that's where I want to, I guess, lead this conversation to your report over the weekend. What did Kyrie Irving organize over the weekend? What did happen over the weekend in this video conference with NBA stars here?
Well, essentially, it was a call for about 80 players. At one point, it got to, I want to say, max of 84 players in there, and it was stars from all ranges. It was players from all ranges. So it wasn't just stars. Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook were in there, but basically, he wanted to give everybody who felt like they didn't have a voice in this process, wanted to give them a platform to air their grievances, air their concerns. It was a platform where a lot of young guys got to talk. Donovan Mitchell, Bam in Orlando. Donovan Mitchell made a point that, he felt like with his extension being coming up this summer, he was hesitant to play because he didn't want to mess up his chance to, get a max contract. He felt like if he came back and what if he got hurt, that'll mess things up on his end. And so there's a bunch of concerns. And, Dwight Howard, Carmelo Anthony, Avery Bradley, they all kind of agree with Kyrie that, there's more important things going on than playing. And then, but that was the minority. It was about 5 or 6 guys who let it be known that they weren't interested in playing. They felt like this is a time to make change with what's going on in our society right now. And the other portion, the other people, they was just trying to explain to them the ramifications of not playing. So that there wasn't enough opposition to say this thing is headed in a place where there's not going to be a season. That's not the case at all. It was just, I think Kyrie Irving just giving people a platform to feel like they're in this process, and because that's what a lot of young folks, the young players, that was their criticism, that they didn't have a vote in the say of if the season's going to restart or not.
Okay, so would you please give more of an airing to the philosophy that you said was in the minority, that instead of protest being part of the sport, protest instead of the sport? And who was that? Kyrie and Dwight Howard? I mean, who? And give a little bit more of an airing on that theory and philosophy, if you don't mind, Chris.
That was Kyrie, Dwight Howard, Avery Bradley, Carmelo Anthony. Trying to think who else. I know I'm missing somebody, but they're feeling. Donovan's. His concern was, his extension. It was more so on that, and then obviously with the COVID, he tested positive for corona before, so that's still on his mind as well. But his main concern in that call, sources say, was his extension that he can receive this summer, not jeopardizing getting a max contract. But most of the guys that had a problem with going and gear and playing, it was due to the racial injustice going on in the aftermath of George Floyd tragedy. And so Dwight Howard, he was passionate. He felt like if they don't take a stand now, Like, what are we going to stand for? And he felt like, players were saying, just the optics of just being huddled out there in Orlando, just being stuck, just bad optics for a league that's majority African-American, just to be stuck over there just for entertainment purposes and economical factors. And so they felt like, we got to make a stand right now and take a stand at, this is not about money. Will there be some sacrifices? Yes, but we feel like, we have to be on the front lines. And that's what Kyrie Irving was saying. Like, he was willing to risk it all to be on the front lines and try to make a difference in the community. So those were some of their reasons. Those were some things that they were voicing, during this call. And it was a call that Kyrie Irving threw. This wasn't a call sanctioned by the Players Association.
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie is vice president of the Players Association. So this came out of nowhere. And Chris Paul, he was a part of it. He called in. But this wasn't something that he sanctioned, and so it was a little bit of a monkey wrench, sort of say. But at the end of the day, I felt like it was one that was unified. It had a lot of people talking. Al-Farouq Amino, who's one of the quietest guys in the league, he was very talkative and communicative, and so at the end of the day, it was a good phone call to get everybody on the same page, just to see where to go here from now, and if anything, just to allow people to have a voice who normally wouldn't.
Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Where does it go from here?
Rich, I don't think this changes anything.
Okay.
Look, the simple fact of the matter is, if you don't want to play, if you don't want to go, you won't get paid for those games. That's it. Nobody's forcing the players to go over there. And so, then, like I said, there's not enough opposition out there. Like, if you poll, 450 of the players, the players that say that they're not going or don't want to go, they're going to be in the minority. Most players want to go over there and play, and largely because of financial ramifications. The owners, the players feel like if they didn't play, owners rip that CBA up, which would most likely happen. And that 50-50 BRI split that they have now, it wouldn't be anywhere close to that. So it's the financial ramifications are the major factor in why most players want to go over there and play. But it doesn't change anything. This season will be restarted. It will resume in Orlando.
It will. Okay. It seems that Patrick Beverley made an insinuation that they're playing only because LeBron says yes. Would you agree with that? Did you hear that one, Chris?
I saw his tweet. I wouldn't say he's saying like if LeBron is playing, we're going to play. That's it. I think he respects LeBron as a basketball mind, and know that if he believes LeBron has the best interests of the league, and I think that's why Pat went and said that. Look, LeBron has a lot to lose. He's not getting any younger. The Lakers were one of the hottest teams in the league before this thing ends. LeBron is big on legacy. Yes, he wants to finish this season out and try to get a championship. It will mean so much to the Lakers. It will mean so much to his legacy to bring a title to the Lakers. So, definitely for personal reasons, LeBron will want to play. But, he's a businessman, and he understands how a player making $10 million a year right now, that player could be making $5 million next year if that CBA gets tore up. So they and for years and down the road had this ripple effect years later. So he understands the business side of not going out there and play. So the voicing all along, even with the superstar call that I reported about 2 or 3 weeks ago, with about 7 or 8 of superstars on the call, they made it clear like it was in the league's best interest to play if the league can assure them that they'll have some of the safest measures, around possible.
So I guess let's just bring this conversation full circle in a way with you, Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports. Where you mentioned how COVID-19 has placed a little bit of stress in your household, as it has in everybody's that's been quarantined. A family begins to feel a little bit more of a pressure point based on what's going on with this virus. How many folks are in your household, Chris?
Including myself, 6, and I'm all outnumbered. It's all women.
Okay.
My wife and 4 daughters.
Dang.
I don't mean to laugh, but I hear you.
It's okay. It's okay.
And
It's
I'm
okay.
imagining all ages, correct? Of all ages, or are they all young?
17, 16, 11, and 9.
Okay, so this is perfect in terms of bringing this all. So everyone's got a different agenda, okay? And everybody's got a different agenda. And so in the fact that I'm hearing what you had to say about the NBA here, everyone's got different agendas or different concerns. Let's put it this way. Let's put it different concerns and wants and desires that COVID-19 is beginning to place pressure points on. Isn't it possible, or is this too optimistic, that the NBA can all get together and that for those who are saying we shouldn't be playing, we should be protesting, that the NBA is used as the platform from which the protest and the conversations can be used as a platform, can be used to get out and bring the attention into the arena that can then be sent out into the community, and the owners and the players can, continue the business. And at the end, somebody hoists a trophy and they say, there's no asterisk here. You try and come to a spot for 3 months and figure this thing out and play in a pandemic, right? Don't you think that that's possible, Chris?
No, that's very possible. And that's what the players on the other side of the fence, that was what they were saying. One of those players is Garrett Temple, who is also a member of the executive committee for the players. He was saying, like, there will be a bigger platform for us to make a bigger change if we went out there and played. All eyeballs would be on the NBA. Everybody wants to see this sport back. And, of course, the league would understand the flight of the African-American and what's going on right now and how everybody has been affected by this emotionally, physically. It's been a draining process. So, of course, the league will do what they can within their parameters to make sure the players' voice is heard and that they're able to do something in honor, do something in a way to give back and give them a platform to do so. And so that's, like I said, Rich, that's why when you ask the questions, I think the league's going to be a start. Yeah, this is not going to stop anything. That call, like Kyrie, was more so just for people to have a voice, because when the vote was approved about 2 weeks ago when the players approved the NBA's 22-team format,
yes,
a lot of players like, hold on, I didn't have a say. Like, what's going on? Like, I didn't vote. Like, I didn't do. And so that's what that call was about.
Okay, so when we hear about unity coming out of the call, it's as if, okay, we've all been heard and we feel more unified going forward here, not unified in not playing, is what you're saying.
Yeah, not unified, not playing. Yeah, just unified on everybody's being heard. We feel good. Even Kyrie, earlier in the call, he's like, I don't want to go. Like, I don't plan on going. I want to do what I have to do in my community, work on the front lines. I made a lot of money. I'm willing to risk it all. But later in the call lasted for about an hour and 40 minutes. Later on in that call, Kyrie said, you know what, guys, I'm glad that we had this talk. I feel good about where we're headed. Now, if everybody feels like it's in our best interest to go over there in Orlando, then I'm going to be with you guys. And so that's why I said, that's why I wrote it like that. It was a unifying call. Everybody, if not getting on the same page, but just hearing everybody out, because that was the main thing. People felt like they didn't have a voice.
Okay. So to use, I guess, an analogy, he came in thinking figuratively the world was flat, and now he sees it as round, is what you're saying, Chris.
I'm going to let you go with that.
Just trying to bring some levity to this world, man. Chris, your reporting is so great, and I appreciate you coming on to share it, and I look forward to doing it again.
All right. Take care, my guy.
You got it, right back at you. At Chris B. Haynes. Follow him on Twitter. I do. You should, too. He's plugged in, to say the least. Plugged in and... Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.